Good to see you. It's always difficult to be in competition with food, especially in the end of the day. But we all know, as longevity enthusiasts, that caloric restriction is the best way to live longer and healthier. So hopefully, it's gonna help. Look, it's the end of the day. We're all tired, so let's make it a little bit more informal today. And it's not like super formal presentation. What I did, we obviously invest in longevity, and I'll talk about the fund. What I did, I just pick up. So what I did, I pick up 5 companies from our portfolio, and just wanted to tell you like what I find impressive about these companies, and that's basically it. Just a little bit about myself. I've been doing investments for last 20 years, and it's all good stuff like transportation, logistics, metals, and mining. And then 7 years ago, I faced a personal health crisis, and I'm pretty sure this is the story for many of us. It takes us huge health shock to start to be interested in the field of health and longevity, etc. So 5 years ago, I founded Longevity Vision Fund. At this time, people thought I'm crazy because longevity is still an orphan for the big industry and big pharma, as we all know. And funny thing is, like, I met a lot of people who were investing in biotech, and I met more people who lost money investing in biotech than people who actually made money investing in biotech. So that's why I thought I just need to be careful, because losing the investors' money is the last thing I want to do. Last 5 years was the most rewarding part of my life, and it still is. I finally find the purpose. I'm 51. So I'm doing a lot of different things in longevity. We'll talk today about X Prize as well, because in the end of this year, we're launching a huge $100 million competition to reverse aging by 20 years in the course of 12 months, together with a lot of different partners and beautiful sponsors as well. I'm on the board of many organizations, including American Federation of Aging Research, actually the oldest organization on earth who was doing aging research. So I'm 51, I'm like the youngest guy there, because everyone else is like 70 or 80. But the most important project there is TAME trial, and probably you heard about this. This is a trial to test metformin, a very old drug, diabetes drug, to fight not diabetes but fight aging as well. So it's 3,000 people. We'll start a trial next year. We finally got the funding for that. That's interesting. I'm also a book author. The book called The Science and Technology of Growing Young. It was published back in 2021. Became bestseller in the US, in many countries. I actually made it back like a few weeks ago. I made it back from China. Launching book in China is a completely different experience. Like every publication is like 1 or 2 million copies, like newspapers or magazines. Like middle level influencer is like 17 million followers. Live stream from Beijing University. I had like 100 students beside me, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna live stream." And I'm like, "How large is the live stream?" It's usually from 1 to 3 million viewers. Well, like with you, it's probably gonna be a little bit more than 1. And I'm like, "Oh my God." Okay, that was the intro. Longevity Vision Fund is one of the few funds in the world which invest in longevity. We've been pretty successful trying to avoid mistakes from all these clever people who lose the money in biotech. I'm very grateful to them. We invested in 18 companies. We invest in gene editing, gene therapy, early cancer diagnostic, affordable ultrasound devices, use of AI for drug discovery and drug development. 4 companies already public out of 18. 2 more going to be public in the next 3 months, and 5 more going to be public in the next 12 months. So we've done 2 funds already. We're working on our 3rd fund. We'll start to fundraise January next year. Out of 5 companies, the one I want to start with is a company called Tessera Therapeutics, which was established and founded by Flagship Pioneering. We do invest a lot with huge biotech firms. again, just trying to avoid mistakes and taking their investment as validation. Tessera is in the field of gene editing and obviously gene therapy as well. And if we want to think about this as almost like a next generation of gene editing technology. And again, I'm not going to be scientific in explaining that. I want to, for every company, I want to share with you what particular thing impressed me so much. So they use something called mobile genetic elements to amend human DNA. And if CRISPR can target and then cut certain portion of our DNA, Tessera's technology can actually amend the whole human DNA. This is how powerful this technology is. And I was so impressed. I was just looking at the results of the study that they did with one of the genetic diseases. And they used CRISPR with one group, and they used their own technology with the other group. So CRISPR was off target, means it cuts the wrong gene to treat this disease 150 times for this particular group. And this technology was on off target kind of 0 times. CRISPR amended 5 to 7% of cells inside our body. This technology amends 45 to 65% of cells inside our body. As some of you know, to treat some of the diseases, you actually need to change the DNA at least in like 10% and above of the cells. So this is very important threshold. We do invest a lot in AI-based drug discovery. By the way, people tell me, Sergey, you should call yourself AI fund, and you're going to be super popular. But we all know AI is everywhere. More than 80% of our companies use artificial intelligence as an enabler. This is one of the companies, again, founded by one of the partners from Flagship Pioneering, founders of Moderna, many other great biotech companies. And it's amazing. We're going to talk about in silico medicine. I mean, we all heard Alex Aliper earlier today. It's one of our early investments as well. But what I find fascinating about Vala Health, they build proprietary AI engine, and they actually now shopping, through the whole biotech market for different targets, different molecules, different IPs. So whenever something on the public market which is cheaper than the value that they identified for this substance from their artificial intelligence engine, they're making an acquisition. They just signed a huge deal with Alex, and many speakers today told you about that. Big Pharma is now big in AI. They just signed the $3 billion deal with Novo Nordisk with $60 million prepayment to work in the field of cardiovascular disease. This is all diseases related to aging. We all know like 4 killer diseases which are responsible for 90% of deaths after the age of 50 is cancer, heart disease, diabetes and metabolic diseases, and neurodegenerative diseases as well. So cardiovascular is important as well. What's next? I mean, we have a lot of young people here, but when I was a young boy, I remember that cancer was kiss of death. People were actually like delaying their day of doing a cancer test, because if you know, or if you knew that you have cancer, you have just another few months to survive. That's it. So right now we actually right in the middle of winning the war against cancer. So the company that we invested in called Freenome, Google was so impressed with them. Google built the whole lab for Freenome inside Google campus in Silicon Valley. What they do, they use a blood test. You can use actually different liquid biopsy, different human biomaterial to identify early stage cancer. But this is a simple blood test. They're now working to identify 8 different cancer types on the basis of this blood test. It costs somewhere around $200. They started with colon cancer, which is very difficult cancer to identify and treat. But the beauty is like the colon cancer today is like you need to go through colonoscopy every 5 years. And like every 5 years, like what's going to happen inside your body within this time frame, no one knows. So this is the opportunity for $200 to have a cancer screening every quarter. That means that we're going to identify cancer at early stage. That also means 90 to 100% recovery. In opposite, if you do stage 4, if you detect cancer at stage 4 at the late stage, recovery rates today for colon cancer is from 8 to 25%. So that's the, when I have my 30 seconds on longevity, and people would always ask me, even like, not appreciating the complexity of human body, people would always ask me like, Sergey, what is one thing that I need to do? I'm always telling like, the most important day of your life every year is not your birthday, is the day of your medical screening today, because you can identify so many diseases at early stage. So it's actually, this is your best way to influence your healthy longevity. The other one, it looks like CGM, and it is continuous glucose monitor. But because this company called BioLink, they're based in San Diego, you see this micro needling technology. This number of kind of small needles that goes to our skin, and for those of you who used continuous glucose monitor for fun or for your medical conditions knows that there's just one big needle there. So what these guys do, they measure not only glucose inside our blood, but many different type of biomarkers. The current technology, they can measure 7 different types. US Air Force have a contract with them to develop device, use this device to measure cortisol for air fighter pilots. But obviously, and it's especially that Alia and many speakers today talk about the importance of women's health, like female aspect of health and longevity. This is extremely important because as male hormonal volatility is like that, and for females it's daily, weekly, monthly, annual cycle as well. So it's extremely important in the context of female health. So we're very proud that we backed up this company. And finally, again, we've heard today amazing Alex talking about in silico medicine. In silico medicine is very impressive, and I don't know if he mentioned that, but the average drug in the US take 12 years to develop and $2.6 billion of R&D investments. So whenever we're going to be compressing the drug development cycle, it's just an opportunity for us to have more drugs, more personalized drugs in the context of health and longevity. So in silico managed to squeeze the first 2 years of drug discovery cycle into 2 months. And they published a paper, I think, a year and a half ago on that. And knowing what I know, yeah? Lina, can you help with knowing what I know about what is going, in silico? By the way, they have one of their offices is here in Abu Dhabi, in Masdar City, with 50 AI engineers. This company can be, it's okay, it's fine, yeah. So in silico is going to be one of the most amazing companies which use artificial intelligence to democratize drug discovery and therefore cost of drugs. My next slide is about what we do at LVF. It's okay, Lina. If you can, you sort it out. If not, I can do it like this. So we're very rigorous in terms of, in LVF we're very strategic. So we're looking at 200 companies a year to invest in 5 of them. So it actually, people call me Mr. No, because I need to, my job is say no to amazing scientists and entrepreneurs 195 times every year. But it's amazing information flow. And that's why actually I wrote the book, because you see all these beautiful technologies and in the world of longevity technologies. And this is what I wanted to share with the public and with people we work with. And finally, there's a big thing happening in the industry. By the end of this year, in November, we launch so-called HealthSpan X Prize. It's initially called Age Reversal X Prize. It's a competition for teams around the world who can use their technologies And to win this game, the main prize is $100 million. It's pro bono. It's non-commercial project. It was supported by many private individuals and governments around the world. It's the largest competition we do in X Prize Foundation. So far, the largest one was the one that we've done with Elon Musk on carbon removal 2 years ago. It's a $100 million prize to remove CO2 from atmosphere. But this time, the winning team would need to, in the course of 12 months, using their science or technology, reverse the biological age of the group of 65 years and above old people by 20 years. So they all should be younger by 20 years, measured by biological clocks, in the course of 12 months. And I think it's very exciting. Given that we have a lot of people who are interested and working in this field here today, I'll be really happy if you can enter competition and devote your time and effort into that. Yeah, that's it. This is all we do in longevity field. I'm very excited to be here. In fact, I'm living here for the last year and a half. My personal office is in this building, just on a different floor. Thought we do invest a lot in the US. This is our major geography. So, where I wanted to conclude is say a huge thank you to organizers of this event. It's a beautiful venue. And Max, Lina, and everyone, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Look, I had it in the script. I wanted to skip it the last 5 minutes, but I decided to keep this. No, it's okay. This is life, okay? It's fine. Thank you. Do we have, Max, do you think we have a time for questions, or you want to move? Yeah. Yeah, any questions? Who wants to live forever? No, I'm just kidding. It's funny, people would seriously think that we're working on immortality. And it was the biggest question you see, I'm one-man show. I can ask myself question and answer that. So people would always Sergey, are you big fan of immortality? And interestingly enough, knowing what I know from working in longevity field, it's extremely unlikely. I think the chances are zero that it's going to be one day of our life, then we would need to choose whether we're going to be immortal or not. It's very likely to be that every 5 to 10 years, all of us, you, would need to decide, do I want to kind of stay on this planet for another 5 to 10 years or not? So it's going to be a series of your life extension decisions. I find it really fascinating. Yeah. Okay. Please. Yeah, we have a question from the audience. Yeah. Guys, do you mind if I'll sit? It's just the end of the day. Let's, do it in a friendly way. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I'm Adel Lawi. I'm the CEO of a digital health company. So my questions, I think when it comes to longevity, right, it's very cultural. So I'm just curious how actually the different is the appetite between this area or perhaps in the United States, because I'm coming from the United States, in terms of funding.
Interesting. That's an interesting question. So I think if you think about longevity, you have 3 potential routes to make everyone healthy and live longer. So one, you can do it on individual basis. I can try to convince Aliyah to eat healthy, do medical screening, be healthy as well. And this is the problem, because if you try to solve it on individual level, we humans, we're so lazy. Even though I'm the disciplined in longevity investor, even I'm not always following all the procedures to live longer. So then the next option is to do it through corporations. And the problem with corporations on the corporate level is that they work for profit. And sometimes, and specifically in the US, that's the case. The profit consideration goes into conflict with making people healthy, preventive health, feeding them kind of in a good way, in responsible way as well. And then, and the third potential agent of change can be government. So the problem with governments all around the world, with the exception of UAE and Saudi Arabia in this region, they're always busy with stuff which is important and urgent. And national health is always important, but never urgent. So it's always get delayed and not the top priority. probably with the exception of COVID, which was a huge wake-up call for all of us and for governments. So I'm actually very hopeful, and we in constant dialogue with the Abu Dhabi government, with UAE, with Saudi Arabia, to implement longevity programs on a national level. So I'm like, I think in terms of commitment to innovation, openness to new things, just the fact that we sit in here and discussing this, I think is a very good sign for the region. So then, having said that, 17 out of 18 companies that we invested in are in the US. And the two biggest research and development hubs, both in terms of biotech and in terms of longevity, are China and the US. Like pre-Trump, you can actually invest in both geographies. Post-Trump, it's either or, so we kind of stuck with the US. And just a lot of things happening there, but for good and for bad reason. And the reason we took US, because US has the largest and the most inefficient healthcare system in the world. So spending 18% of GDP on healthcare, it's the only developed country in the world, and I say it with a lot of love, which has decreasing life expectancy, not increasing, right? So US is a country where capitalism won, and it goes against the national health interest, right? So in this, I'm actually more optimistic about opportunity to influence the region, and from here you can reach out to Africa, you can reach out to India, you can work with China. I just came back from it, 1.3 billion people, enormous longevity and demographic challenge as well. So in terms of, so I think we need to separate like a sourcing ideas and R&D, and it's still mostly US and China, and they're actually competing quite closely with each other. I spent a day in Beijing University, some of the most amazing things I've seen there. But then in terms of implementation, and obviously the bigger the population and less affordable the healthcare for this population, now this is China, this is Africa, this is our case. So every technology that we invest in brings 10, 20, 50, not percent, times improvement in terms of cost and efficiency against current practice. So people criticize me for being idealistic, but I think there's no economic reason why in 10, 20 years from now, the basic digital version of healthcare should not be offered as a part of basic economic income. How do you call it? Basic universal income or basic universal package of services from the government. But again, money still drives the world, but we can find a way. Final anecdote on China. So I've been to a conference 4 years ago there, and there was a company there called Beijing Genomic Institute. They do a lot of gene editing, gene therapy research. And I literally, so the head of the institute, I'm going there in a few months actually to visit their facilities. He was making the presentation. So I literally took 2 minutes to go to the bathroom. So I'm coming back in 2 minutes. 300 people, Chinese, sitting in the room, watching the presentation. And I see the words on the slide which says we're working on a project to clone humans to populate Mars. And I was just 2 minutes away from the room, okay? And all these guys, they sitting there and okay, no big deal, Obviously, the ethics of healthcare and medicine, and especially genetic and gene therapy, is a big thing. That's why the last chapter of the book called Morality of Immortality, a chapter about ethics. But in the end of the day, there's so many beautiful and powerful things happening in the world today. So I'm actually very excited that today is the best time to be alive, because finally we have something. And this probably should be my concluding thoughts. Congratulations to everyone. Finally, we have something which can appreciate and solve the complexity of human biology. It's called artificial intelligence and computing power. Because human brain, even the best doctors in the world couldn't really handle the complexity and build a comprehensive picture of the human health. So I think it's a great news for today. That's why I'm very excited to be with you today and work in this field.